The Bears finished 8-8 last season, but ended up in the playoffs thanks to the expanded format being implemented in 2020. And stop me if you've heard this before, but this year's draft, one of the most important ones in a long time for the Bears. Naturally, this one will be important for GM Ryan Pace, head coach Matt Nagy. One thing's for sure, they'll have to come out of the draft, we think, with a quarterback. The question is who and when. But here's a look at how the first round has gone under Ryan Pace's watch. The most notable miss, Mitch Trubisky, back the second overall pick in 2017. Started in that playoff game at New Orleans, but he's now a Buffalo Bill. And they didn't have a first-round pick the last couple of drafts due to that Khalil Mack trade with then Oakland, now Las Vegas. Let's bring in NFL insider Jason La Canfora with more on the Bears and other GMs under pressure heading into the draft. And let's start with Ryan Pace in Chicago. First time in 3 years they've got a first-round pick here. Jason, what do you think?
Look, I think if left to their own devices, they would be willing to roll the dice, move up, and try to get another quarterback. I just can't fathom ownership allowing that, given how horribly, frankly, they've mismanaged the most important position in all of professional sports. There are parameters that everybody works under, and certainly everybody in that building knows jobs are on the line. So I don't see them having the wherewithal to package a bunch of picks and try to move up. They were well represented at Trey Lance's pro day. They've done a lot of work on all these quarterbacks. I just don't see them getting in the top 7 to 9 picks to actually make it happen. You look at the composition of that football team right now. Nagy's an offensive-minded coach. They know they need to score more points. You know, Andy Dalton, whomever, is going to need help. I think in that area where they're picking around the 20s, you'll start to see the second tier of receivers kind of formulate a little bit. We know the big 3 are going to go before they pick. But Rashad Bateman from Minnesota could make a lot of sense for them, right? Allen Robinson on the franchise tag. They've been trying to move their slot guy, no takers for his contract. They don't have enough weapons. So I can see them going that way, round 1, and somewhere day 2, a quarterback. I know they really like Davis Mills from Stanford. I think that might be a little bit more their speed than doing it day 1.
All right, so Chicago does have the 20th overall pick, and whether Wade can trade up or not, as you alluded to, might be difficult given the circumstances there. Again, we talked about the link between the Bears and the Raiders, so let's move to Las Vegas with Mike Mayock / John Gruden. Jason, they've got the 17th overall pick. What type of pressure do we think is under them out there in the desert?
Well, John Gruden is just fine. He's owed over $50 million. He's not going anywhere. You know, you get a 10-year contract. You are the favorite son of the owner, and he remembers you from helping resurrect that franchise when Al Davis was still alive. John Gruden's under no pressure. He can go hit some golf balls and drink a few Coronas. He'll be all right. Mike Mayock, different story. Mayock, you know, look, John Gruden's an offensive-minded guy at his core. Mike Mayock, a lot of his job there on the defensive side has been to kind of replenish that and find some pass rushers and stock that side of the ledger. Well, the defense has been horrible at all 3 levels. You've seen them cut recently some of their higher draft picks from recent years, Arden Key, Hurst, and they still badly need pass rushers. They still badly need guys who can impact the ball in the air from a defensive standpoint, whether they be off-the-ball linebackers, whether they be free safeties, whether they be corners. I expect them to go in that direction at 17. I continue to hear a lot of buzz about TCU safety Trevon Moehrig. He's someone that the Raiders have done a ton of work on. And look, it could be a corner. Do they think, hey, Farley, we know he's got a medical situation there, but he may prove to be the best corner in this draft. We get him in the middle of the first round. Is that too much value to pass? And there's some pass rushers who could help him as well, but they've had difficulty, frankly, finding pass rushers, and there's a lot of question marks attached to a lot of those guys as well. But I think defense for the Raiders. Mike Mayock's got to find some players on that side of the ball.
Let's end with Dave Gettleman. A quick thought on what type of pressure he's under in New York.
I mean, look, Dave Gettleman is certainly under pressure to fulfill some of the promises set up there when he took over and replenishing that team and building it from the inside out. Not much they've done has worked. Dave Gettleman's also a guy who's battled serious health issues. And, you know, he may want to hang him up, you know, and get out of that big chair, the GM seat at the end of the year, no matter what. You know, look, he says he's never had the ability to trade down. There are people who will move up to 11, particularly if a receiver is still standing up there. And Gettleman's got a lot of need on defensive line, especially nose tackle. Christian Barmore at 11 would be a little bit of a luxury pick. You move down 8-10 spots, still get a guy like that and pick up some more picks. Could make sense for them. You know, they don't have a replacement for Tomlinson on the roster right now. If he stays at 11, I think, could it be a receiver? Sure, but I think you could also be looking at a linebacker like Micah Parsons, or you could be looking at a pass rusher like Kwity Paye. Generally, Gettleman does favor the bigger guys. Maybe that's the way he ends up going. But yes, they're under pressure, and his legacy will be tied to Daniel Jones. And is Daniel Jones still there when Gettleman's gone? That's an open question right now. All
right, Jason La Canfora with the general managers under pressure in the NFL. Jason, certainly appreciate it. Thanks for your time as always, and catch the Pick Six podcast. Of course, as we talked about it, the Giants will select 11th overall as it stands right now. But Will Brinson and R.J. White talking NFL draft props for the first round.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.